own. If you follow us at all, you know that Sean Yurtkuran and myself have been on top of the Jackson Convention Center Hotel bribery corruption ordeal since day one. I feel like, we were the ones to break this, with Sean and myself and our sources firmly around town. Going back 2 years ago to now, we did a live stream last week when Hinds County DA Jody Owens changed his plea to guilty. And it was the next day or the day after that, Tuesday? And then by Thursday, going into my and everybody else's 4th of July weekend, got a tip that Chokwe would be pleading guilty today, Monday, July 6th, once his lawyers got back in town from the 4th of July weekend. And had some rumblings that Aaron Banks may also do the same. Wasn't as 100% sure on that. But the old saying, if news breaks, we break with it. We have gotten word that Aaron will too be pleading guilty. Of course, this is all over the news channels now, but we wanted to give everything kind of time to get settled, become reality, let everybody see that this was real. Kind of let the real journalists out there get us some of the meat and details of everything so we could have something to talk about. And let me bring in Sean Yurtkuran now. He was a former Hinds County prosecutor, what they call it, ADA, for 10 plus years right there in Hinds County. He got the last death penalty,
yeah.
What? Death penalty. Just eluding me there for a second. I got so much going on in my head this morning.
Too much.
And Sean got the last death penalty conviction in Hinds County history. Maybe there'll be another one in the future, but Sean's got the last one for now, so he's the real deal.
We got a new DA coming. You never know, right?
Yeah. He's also one of the most sought-after criminal defense attorneys in the state right now. You can reach him at onetextlaw.com. That's the number one or the spelling one, onetextlaw.com. If you get in trouble, if you've done some FA and you want to mitigate the FO, and Sean is your guy. Did you get a DUI this holiday weekend? Rookie. If you did. But if you did, reach out to Sean. Let him help you mitigate the penalties, so to say. Sean, welcome in, my friend.
Hey, man, it's been a big day. I guess that's kind of what we talked about. I think we did one on Thursday. Is that right? Because Friday everybody was taking off. And
it was
Thursday.
Well, I thought I was thinking it was.
Well, I think we did 2 last week, didn't we?
I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, we did multiple last week. So either way, here we are now with confirmation that Chokwe has in fact changed his guilty plea. His not guilty to guilty. Same with Aaron Banks, which falls in line with Angelique Lee, Marve Smith, and as of last week, Jody Owens, the now former officially, as of July 1st, apparently you get to call your shot when you resign, when you're a convicted felon or soon to be convicted felon, admitted felon. Anyway, former Hinds County DA Jody Owens, the whole Free the Land bunch is guilty without ever having to step foot into a courtroom or at least on an official trial. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that once Jody Owens pled guilty, that was kind of the tipping point for the other two, that they kind of had no choice at that point. I didn't think they had any choice prior to this, and that this was extended needlessly. But that's the right, of the defendant to investigate all possible defenses. I think we saw early on that there was little defense here for either of them. Jody's being significantly worse than the former mayor's defense. He had a little bit of a cognizable defense, I think. At least it made sense, whereas Jody's was just outright ridiculous. It's funny, actually, kind of anecdotally, a mutual friend of ours, Clay, texted me this weekend when I was down on the coast, and I'll tell you it is after we get off air, but he's probably listening. And he said, "Man, I just ran into Jody Owens at the liquor store." And I said, "Well, that I guess his alcoholism, maybe it is true, or maybe he's just not." I don't know if maybe record was it really him, but that's what he told me. So I don't want to claim that's 100% true, but that's what he said. So I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, you just were saying that you had the severe alcohol problem, and the FBI got you drunk, but now here I guess he's figuring he's got his time between now and October to drink it up, and then he can go to federal prison. So,
man, I tell you, I hate to be him. I hate to be any of them. But if there was ever a bunch that had it coming, this crew had it coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, going back to, Sean, like I would have just liked to have been a fly on the wall at the boat party in Miami.
Yeah.
And or the private plane ride. I know they all flew in a private plane coming back. I don't know that they all flew together. I can't remember. There's been so many stories, but I know at some point they end up on a private plane, because I guess it was going to be too much cash to check. So they had to fly private back because of the 50 grand cash in case you can't, or however much it was, you can't, because you got to check X amount of cash, right, to fly.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, Clay, I've never had that much cash on a plane, so I wouldn't know, but I have to look it up. Probably. It makes sense that you would have to do that. That would be something to ask ChatGPT because I've never had 50,000 to take on a plane.
Yeah,
I hope I do one day, but I mean, in a legal sense, and not an illegal one.
I've never needed to take 50 grand anywhere because I've only flown twice. I'm not a big world traveler. I like road trips in the vehicle on the road.
You can take cash all you want there.
Yep. Well, technically you're not supposed to travel with more than 10 grand.
Is that what it is?
Yep, more than 10 grand. So I guess kind of same goes for flying. So I guess that's probably the number. Because if you win more than $9,999 at the casino, you got to claim it.
Right. That I knew. I didn't know about traveling with amounts of cash. I don't know what the regulations on that are, but I mean, I could see where if you were traveling with that amount of cash, because when I deposit cash in the bank, if you do it consistently, they'll ask you, the source of it anyway. Just because if you do it consistently, that's something they kind of have to just to cover. That's not a federal rule, but the bank's going to do that. So I don't know. Maybe that's maybe airlines where they have to do that beyond certain amounts. I mean, if you're moving $100,000 and checking on an airplane, I would think the airlines need to have some alert to that. That does make sense. It's like, why are you doing that?
True enough. I know when we had the nightclubs and we had to do the deposits and we would have cash, large amounts of cash. We would have to have the bank slip filled out, account numbers, all that stuff on it in case you got pulled over. You could show the cops kind of what the money was for.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they did it anyway, and they got back to Jackson, and then I guess shortly thereafter, I mean, because wasn't the boat party in March of 2024 or something like that? I think, Billy, that's all right.
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
And then when the DA's office was raided right prior to Memorial Day of 24, we kind of got tipped off about the whole boat party and all that jazz, and of course we know how that played out with us, but all of it, everything that we ever said ended up being true. So I was like that, and I think there was a lot of people that kind of threw mud and was saying that this stuff wasn't accurate by it, and actually every little thing we reported, and correct me if I'm wrong, ended up being like almost 100% right. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I can't recall anything that we've had to retract or, maybe, having to snorting a little blow off strippers' buttholes.
Yeah.
May or may not have been true, but who's to say it wasn't? That we may not have reported that with confirmed accuracy, but look, let me use my imagination a little bit, please.
Oh yeah, I mean, it doesn't you don't have to stretch it too far to think that maybe they were, you're at a strip club in Miami, cocaine and strippers kind of go together. Now we have no independent confirmation of that, but I'm going to guess that is a possibility. Just knowing Miami like I do and strip clubs in Miami, that is a very big, but that's actually, I've told you this many times when we discussed this. That's the Miami Dolphins strip club. They all go there, all the players. That's why everybody knows what it is. And so I'm thinking you got all these NFL players, all these celebrities, there's probably some drugs around. Just my guess.
We just got a question. And guys, we're going to get into all the nuts and bolts. If you have any questions for Sean or myself, Sean would be the expert on more of this than myself. But if y'all have any questions on any of this, feel free to drop a comment here in the live stream and we'll pull it up. Susan Womack asked, will he lose his law license? And we're talking about Jody for sure. The Mississippi Bar has just requested that. Now, let me read that to you, Sean. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, it says, where'd it go? Mississippi Bar seeks suspension of former Hinds County DA Jody Owens. Who do they seek it from? I thought they were the ones that would do the suspending.
The Supreme Court does it, if I'm correct. Like they have to petition the Supreme Court because they're the ones that actually do it. I believe that's the correct procedure. Hopefully I'll never find out, but I believe that's what it is. So I think the Supreme Court actually has to pull your law license. The bar is just kind of like a labor union, so to speak, or ministers things, but I think it's the actual Supreme Court that will take your law license.
I
So,
got you.
yeah, so I think that's what they do, and yeah, and to answer Sharon's question, they will do that for Chokwe too, probably here shortly as well. I mean, he's a practicing attorney, and now he's convicted of a felony, and I mean, there may be some felonies you can be convicted of still practice law. I don't know what they are, but this for sure
It
he's
is.
going to lose his law license.
It is the Supreme Court, because here's what WLBT says. Says the Mississippi Bar has filed a formal complaint against former Hinds County DA Jody Owens before the state Supreme Court, seeking his suspension from the practice of law in Mississippi. The bar cited Owens' guilty plea to a felony in connection with a bribery scheme that also ensnared former Jackson Mayor Chokwe and Lumumba and Aaron Banks, who have both pled guilty. Owens was identified. We ain't got to read all that. Yeah, so he will lose his law license, as will Chokwe Lumumba as well. But again, we've anticipated that since day one.
Yeah.
Let's see, let me clear the screen here real quick. I
Hang on.
apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I think we understood that was going to be the end result for them, and I think we felt like Chokwe would use this as some catapult into some activism or whatever way, some grift of writing a book or whatever. But I think that may have changed a bit based upon what he agreed to do here. So I think that analysis looks a little differently than had he gone to trial and got convicted and he was martyr and all that stuff. But now, I mean, I think as far as I know, and I haven't seen the particulars of the plea agreement, I'm just assuming that he agreed to cooperate with the federal government. I'm assuming that's what happened. I don't know that, but I think that's what happened.
But let me ask you this. We got the video queued up here, but let me ask you this real quick. With there not being a trial now, what is there to cooperate with?
As far as I understand it, what they'll do, right, and that's a very good question. And this happens in the state level, even if there isn't a trial, but you've had like say, I've represented people where they're cooperating co-defendant, and then they're, gave a statement, their willingness to cooperate helped secure the other guilty plea. Then that is, you'll get credit for that in the state system. It's a little bit more loose in the state system now. I believe in the feds, I think they still, if like they're help secure a conviction. So I think what I'm saying is I think Jody is definitely going to get it, because that, tipped over Chokwe and Aaron. Now Chokwe maybe pushed Aaron because he was going to do it, and then that made Aaron be like, okay, well, maybe I need to do it too. I don't think what I was told though before we came on air though from Anthony Warren told me that from WLBT said that he heard that Aaron did not agree to cooperate with the government as far as he knew. So I don't know the accurate. I mean, he's usually pretty dead on. So if he's saying that, I'm going to believe him. But I don't know. I don't know who. I guess everybody was kind of done by that point, though. So maybe the government just didn't really care. I mean, everybody's pleading guilty. Like, who is he going to cooperate against?
Guess it at the kitty table, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to? I mean, everybody pled guilty, so I don't know who the other target was out there, or who else you would have. I guess maybe in the event that Chokwe backed out, they wanted that as a safety net. It could have been a possibility. So that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, let's play this video. It says about 4.5 minutes long. I don't know that we'll play all of it, but this is from WLBT, and it's like former Jackson mayor pleads guilty. Let's see what they say. See if they bring any new information to the table that we don't already know. Here we go.
For breaking news.
Now to a breaking news update on something we first told you about 20 minutes ago. Former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Lumumba and former Ward 6 Councilman Aaron Banks are still in federal court, but it's our understanding now that both have pleaded guilty in the Jackson bribery scandal. This, of course, coming 3 years to the month now after all of this kicked off, when those FBI agents disguised.
Did he say 3 years to the month?
I think what he meant, and actually I caught that too. I think that was when the actual investigation began. They started messing with Jody and Chokwe, but the raid of the DA's office was the weekend of before Memorial Day of 2024. So that's 2 years. But I think the beginning of the whole scheme started like a year prior to that, is what he means.
Makes sense.
Themselves as developers and tried to lure former Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens, who kind of began all of this. Our Quentin Smith live outside federal court. Quentin, what can you tell us about what you've learned?
That's right, CJ. Everything just wrapping up just moments ago. Former Mayor Chokwe Lumumba pleading guilty to conspiracy. He now faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Inside the courtroom, the former mayor admitted that he conspired to commit bribery, wire fraud, and also money laundering. It's all in connection to bring a convention center hotel here to the capital city. Now, the mayor is expected to come out of the courtroom any minute now. His sentencing date, it'll take place on October 15th. But it's not just Lumumba. Former Jackson Councilman Aaron Banks will also plead guilty. His is set to begin in just a few minutes, and he's also expected to plead guilty to conspiracy as well. Again, it's in connection to a scheme to bring a convention center hotel here to the capital city. But again, Lumumba, he faced up to 75 years behind bars, but now that's no longer the case. He now faces up to 5 years after pleading guilty. With this guilty plea, he now can no longer possess a firearm, and he can also no longer vote because he's now considered a felon. But of course, we will bring you sound from the former mayor as soon as he walks out of this courtroom, and we'll also be inside the courtroom when the former Councilman Aaron Banks enters his guilty plea as well. We'll bring that for you both.
I need to go find any potential shit Chalkway talked about Trump being a convicted felon.
On air and online at WLBT.com. But for right now, that's the very latest from here outside the federal courthouse in downtown Jackson. Quentin Smith, 3 on your side.
Quentin, thank you so much. Quentin and our colleague Anthony Warren holding it down there in federal court, getting us this information, this much needed information here. This, of course, the culmination of a 3-year, essentially a 3-year journey. It was this month, 3 years ago in 2023, that those FBI agents turned developers first tried to approach then Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens at his business in downtown Jackson, the Downtown Cigar Company. And of course, everything happening since then. These indictments that came down for Owens, for Lumumba, and for Banks were back in November of 2024. And of course, 1 week ago today, Owens pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy as well. Angelique Lee, in August of 2024, former city councilwoman, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy after getting entangled in this as well. She and Banks were the only 2 council members who essentially took the bait from these FBI agents through Owens to try to get this convention center hotel development deal and get the votes needed to be able to make that happen. Banks at the time was the city council president and held considerable sway over the Jackson City Council. We also want to let you know that these 2 guilty pleas come 1 week before trial was set to begin, a 6 to 7 week trial concerning the Jackson bribery scandal, where we had mountains and mountains of evidence from these federal investigators.
Sean, let me ask you this. Speaking of that, as an attorney, did the attorneys lose out on extra money that's not going to trial, or were they kind of locked in at a certain amount, plea or trial? How does that work? Because, I'm just guessing now. If you're an attorney, I mean, you got to kind of be wanting the trial because you're going to be able to have those billable hours. How does that work? Do they lose out? Do they kind of get the same either way? Is that pre-negotiated in advance? How does that work?
Well, it depends on how you got paid. Of course, that'll. So with Carlos Tanner, who was Aaron's attorney, he was what's called a panel attorney, essentially an appointed a private lawyer who's a public defender that does those, gets certain cases paid by the federal government. So he bills on an hourly rate. So yeah, trial he would have billed a lot for that trial. Now, though, also that being said, that's a 7-week trial, which when you're a lawyer, trust me, I know this because those trials take a lot out of your other business. So you're really like, oh man, I got this going on, I got that, or I could pick up. You're missing out on a lot of stuff. It's really, I don't know any lawyer that was would like to sit in trial for 7 weeks. That's running their own business. It's it usually hurts you. Even though in Carl's situation is actually the most beneficial because he could bill for it. Most lawyers that are privately retained are usually going to set a total fee for whatever that is. And I mean, some will bill by an hour, but usually in criminal defense, it's kind of a flat fee rate. I'll charge you $50,000 for an entire trial. So that's what you're going to get no matter how long the trial lasts.
And then there'd be additional charges. They had to bring in experts or anything like that.
Sure. I mean, and I have several cases like that now. I've just retained an expert in another case, and that's outside the contract. But that doesn't go to the attorney. That goes to the expert and those sorts of things, investigators and stuff that you need for cases like that. But if the Chokeway's attorneys, I think, were all privately retained, so they may have just got X number of dollars, and they're like, they'd rather just plea it because they wouldn't have to spend the 7 weeks in court. Now, Carlos would be the only one that would actually make some money because he would be able to bill for that. But still, I'm guessing he's probably glad too because he's got a ton of other work he's got to focus on or he can miss out. So, yeah, I don't know many lawyers that want to go to trial for 7 weeks. I've done a 3-week trial one time, and that will take the life out of you. So I can't imagine what 7 weeks will do.
Oh, I can't imagine. And then, think of a jury having to, miss work or miss their life and do all that for 7 weeks. I mean, you may hate your job and that sounds great on the front end, but after going to sit in a courtroom for realistically, you have an all day long trial. Once you take breaks and lunch and all that out, how long are you actually in a courtroom? 6, 7, 8 hours a day on something like that?
Depends on how far the judge wants to. It's all on the judge. Sometimes they'll want to sit there because they want to get the witnesses in and try to move the trial along. So it could be 10, 12 hours. Generally, yeah, 7 to 8 is what it is. And it's a lot. Yeah, for them, that's what people tell me, like, man, I really want to sit on a jury, don't you? I said, hell no. It sounds horrible. You get to sit in that rickety chair.
In Hinds County? Hell no.
Hinds County, definitely not. I mean, the roof is leaking. The AC right now, it barely works in the summer. It's horrible. It's a horrible experience. Not like the movies where it seems like it's exciting. Like I would not want to do it. Now, most criminal trials though last about a week. They don't last 7 weeks. So this is just out of the ordinary kind of situation. It's not like I can't tell you how many murders.
Also would have been in the federal courtroom too.
It's a lot nicer. The federal courthouse is really nice. It's a lot nicer place to be.
So a little different scenario there, but nonetheless, let's see. We got about a minute left on this. Let's see if he has anything else relevant to say.
Involving there were wiretaps, there were hidden cameras, there were audio recordings, a ton of evidence, some of which was released in that 37-page indictment back in November of 2024, and some of which we never knew about and likely never will now that these guilty pleas are taking place today. Of course,
that was my next question. I'm glad because I've already forgotten. That was my next thing. Will they seal the evidence now and us never know what was there? Is there some point in time where you could do a FOIA request to get the evidence? How does that work, Sean? We were looking forward to seeing some of that.
Sure. I don't know the procedure in federal court, to be honest. I know it in state court, what happens in these situations. In state court, you can do a FOIA request after, if there's like a guilty plea, and I forget the time limit on that, but you'll be able to get to see certain parts of the evidence or and certain things if you do a FOIA request. A lot of times, I bet, I'm going to guess, because I used to use this excuse when I got FOIA requests at the DA's office for certain people that would pled guilty or even after a trial, and then there will be an appeal, so you can't give it out then either. But a lot of times the standard answer by the government is like there's an ongoing investigation, and you kind of just play that as long as you want. Like for example, I was it's funny enough, I did a FOIA request for the Stanley Cole case I tried back in 2010. Before, you remember when I went to Los Angeles to do that Hulu documentary? Well, I wanted to see if I could get some of the file just so I could, heck, it'd been, 15 years at that point. I need to refresh my recollection on it. And I put in a FOIA request at the DA's office, and they wouldn't even give me. And I was the guy who tried it. They wouldn't even give it to me. They're like, well, I'm like, it's not an ongoing investigation. This 15 years ago, but they always come up with excuses. So it's not that easy. Now I know Kingfish is really good with this, and he gets a lot of that stuff. So he probably knows this way better than I do how that works. But yeah, it's not. My best guess is we're not going to see the Tootsie stripper stuff because they're going to say they're investigating other public officials or whatever it is, and none of us will ever. Now I hope somebody, I'm sure Kingfish or whoever, will try to get that, but I doubt we're going to get it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Kingfish there. I'm flipped over here to his website. Let's see. Let me give Jody. Not Jody. Let's give our good friend, what's his name here, 30 more seconds. See what he has to say. Yeah. CJ LeMaster. Draw brain fart there.
Of course, we will continue to bring you the very latest on this as it develops, including interviews with the former mayor and former council person, Aaron Banks. Should they want to address reporters, our reporters will be asking them questions. Whether or not they respond, is another matter. But we will bring you the very latest on that, and we will have full, complete team coverage starting at 4 p.m.
Let's. I'm glad we beat them. Let's see what we got. This other one here too, Sean, of the about Jody, not Jody. I'm sorry, of all of Aaron's stuff. Let's see what they say about Aaron here real quick, because this is kind of the unknown here on Aaron.
And he was facing he only had 2 counts against him. Aaron only did. So everybody else, Chokwe had 5 and Jody had 7. So he was, he was looking at the least amount of time in comparison to the other 2.
Well, there's only so much you can do from the kitty table.
Yeah, so much you can do. He was.
Now to a breaking news update on something we first told you about 20 minutes ago. Former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba and former Ward 6 Councilman Aaron Banks are still in federal court, but it's our understanding now that both have pleaded guilty in the Jackson bribery scandal. This, of course, coming 3 years to the month now after all of this kicked off when those FBI agents disguised themselves as developers.
I got 2 videos going at once on accident. Okay. I got all that stopped. Let's do a refresh here on WLBT and see if there's any kind of update that we're not aware of. All right, we got some. Bear with me 1 second. Let this ad run here on the front of this video, and we got Chokwe and then coming out of the court.
I will give Chokwe credit. Do you see the front page of WLBT? That's a heck of a suit there.
You know what? Somebody in the comments said it too. Said I had to give him props for the suit, and I hadn't seen it yet, so I'm not trying to hate.
It is pretty cool. I'm gonna give him that. It's a good suit.
Wait, hold on.
You won't be wearing it much longer, but
hold on a gosh darn second.
Oh, there we go.
I forgot about it. Free the land, free the people. Free the land, free the people.
That's it.
Now to a breaking news update on something we first told you about 20 minutes ago. Former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba.
It's the same thing over and over. Let's just see let's see what the update is here. It says, what it says, former mayor to plead guilty. They didn't. Sure, is there an update?
Even the news screwed Aaron, just like Chokwe and Jody did.
Yeah, it's just all the same. So let's go over to our good buddy Kingfish's page. I did see some stuff there. Let's see here. And guys, we'll get to your questions here in 1 second. Just a lot coming at us fast here. And I will say that Ross Adams, again, thank y'all for the live comments here. You're helping fill in the blank some. Ross Adams reported that there were a bunch of Lumumba supporters and former city employees who worked for the mayor in the courtroom. Said it was packed with Lumumba supporters.
Really?
Yeah. To go watch him agree to be a snitch. So he says,
it's amazing what people can convince themselves of. I tell you what.
It's wild. It says Judge Jordan advising. This is 2 hours ago. I'm reading Ross Adams' Twitter feed here. It says Judge Jordan advising Lumumba that a conspiracy conviction means he will lose his right to vote, hold public office, or possess a firearm. He could run for sheriff. It says Judge Jordan is now reading the indictment, which showed the elements of conspiracy, including the other counts in the case, including bribery, honest wire fraud, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing new there. I was hoping that our buddy Ross had something fresh, but let's see what Kingfish has to say. It says Lumumba and Banks plead guilty to conspiracy. That's had been updated since 1:30. So we're up to date on on any of the news outlets around here on this as of right now. So let's check out. Sean, do you have any thoughts you want to jump off before I go reading comments?
Well, I think what we're looking at now is what are the potential sentences for both of them for Chokwe? I know we discussed that in length about Jody last week. For Aaron and Chokwe, I'm assuming, and I haven't run the guideline numbers like we were doing last week, because there's been a whole lot of time, but I think they both pled. All 3 of them pled to conspiracy. So you're looking at a 5-year cap, 60 months. I think Chokwe's guideline exposure will be beyond that, at my best guess. So he's probably going to get around that 60 months. I'm going to say that he's probably going to get the 60 months. Aaron's a little different. I think I was trying to do a fast calculation before we came on air. I think he's looking at less than that because he was only indicted for 2 counts. Chokwe was indicted for 5. Jody was indicted for 7. So I think Aaron is looking at between like 33 to 41 months. Maybe this is probably wrong numbers, so nobody quote me on this, but he's looking at less time than Chokwe is. So
about 3.5 years,
something like that is what I'm gonna guess, but I don't have that 100% yet. I would say that Chokwe and Jody are probably gonna get like some very similar sentences based on their guideline numbers. You would think that Jody's gonna get, but I don't think you can, because of those calculations, can give him more because they're both capped at that 60 months. So, and their guidelines should be over that. So that's what I'm thinking right now, just based on the limited information I have about it. but Aaron should be lower. And then I think Angelique is probably going to, get probation or something. I don't think she's going to jail. But
Yeah, I think that we're both on the same page there. I think she was the first one to the courthouse.
yeah,
I think, I guess she was. She was the first plea that got announced, the first resignation. So I'm assuming she was the first one there.
yeah.
I guess it would come down to her and Marve Smith and maybe some other witnesses that we don't know about, right? So, we'll see here. Let's see here. It says, I've started the latest in going our way backwards on these questions. Jonah says, why does it take so long for us to sentence someone if they are guilty? Yeah, so sentencing being moved to October. Yeah, Sean, why is that? Like we saw, I see in Texas, I guess, that's a state deal, but like in the in Texas, in the kid that killed the kid, Carmelo Anthony, his sentencing was the same day, like a couple hours after the verdict was read. They brought them back in and did the sentencing same day while everybody was there, did guilty impact statement, did a victim impact statements and all that. And then with this federal, it's moved to October. What's that? All of July, all of August, September, 4 months down the road almost.
Yeah. So what happens in the difference is, I think not that I know Texas state law, but I think they gave it to the jury for sentencing. If I remember, he was convicted. There was like 2-phase trial, kind of like in Mississippi. We have that in a death penalty case where there's a guilt phase and then there's a sentencing phase. So I think that's probably why that happened. It depends on each state's laws. And Mississippi is similar like that too. I mean, if you get convicted of murder, then there's like one sentence. So if you get convicted of second-degree murder, then it's different because there's like a range. But with federal court, this is not special to Jody or Chokeway or Aaron. This is all defendants, and once they plead guilty, and assume after they're convicted after a trial, but definitely they plead guilty. Federal probation gets involved at this point, and they go do an interview with. They'll collect a lot of information about the defendant's background, and then they'll go do an interview with the defendant, with the lawyer present, because I've been to several of these, and they're asking them questions about their lives and all that, and they'll prepare a report. And they'll submit that report to the judge and the defense attorney and the government. And then you can make objections to that report, like things that you don't think are accurate for the judge to consider or that shouldn't be considered in terms of sentencing. And then at the end of that report, will be the final report. The judge will get it, and then you'll file what's called a sentencing memorandum on behalf of your client and argue it at that. So there'll be arguments at that sentencing hearing on October 15th. And I'm assuming, just like any defense lawyer is going to ask for a lower range of the guidelines or to depart from the guidelines for their client. And they're going to ask for, the judge to do that because the sentencing is in the discretion completely of the federal district court judge. And so that's what's going to happen. So that's what's taking so long. That's why it's so long, because it takes probation a long time to do this work. It's not just something they can do in a few weeks. So that's why you have the delay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then, of course, the people who pled sooner, like Angelique and Marve, they can't be sentenced either. And I know we hit this the other day, but just for the benefit of new listeners or viewers, the people who previously pled, they can't begin their sentencing or can't be legally sentenced or technically sentenced until after the trial ends or all pleas are in the house. So they have to hold up their end of the bargain and actually do what they agreed to do. Because if they were to, let's say Angelique was to have taken 1 year house arrest, she starts serving the house arrest a year ago. The trial doesn't start till technically after her house arrest is over. Well, there's kind of double jeopardy, right? If she doesn't do what she says she was going to do, or, doesn't go all the way in, or, tiptoes in, the government's kind of screwed, right?
Yeah, I mean, what you don't want to do, and there's some prosecutors have made this mistake. I mean, it's not going to happen I'm 100% in federal court, but they'll I've seen it quite often in state court. They you want to, because you're going to get this cooperating co-defendant, okay, and they're not always the most trustworthy people, and so you want to make sure they're going to say. So first, generally, when you plead them guilty, you're going to have them do what's called allocute on the record as to the their facts or what they testify to. So you have a record of it anyway. And then you wait to sentence them till after the trial. So they've got some motivation to act right, obviously. And so if you do it beforehand, and I had a case like that where I was defending somebody on a capital murder, and they did it before, and they got the deal, and and the co-defendant was out of jail, so I was just tearing that person to pieces. Like you walked in this courthouse without a jumpsuit and your own, jeans and t-shirt on a capital murder. That's a good deal you got. And so it's better for the state if they haven't, or the federal government in this instance, that they haven't given that yet, because it's not something that the defense can use as ammunition during cross-examination. But if they're like, oh, Angelique only got, probation, they're going to just jump her butt with that the whole time, just like I did in my capital murder trial when the co-defendant got essentially probation and for that kind of a charge, because they were already sentenced prior to their testimony. So that's bad for the state too. And also the state wants to make sure they do. Yes, that's what you'd want. And in this case now, I think that they're free and clear to be sentenced. You've got guilty pleas from everybody that was indicted. And here we go. So I wouldn't see that there would be a holdup on sentencing Marve Smith or Angelique Lee at this point.
Gonna be a good time. So will they do all the sentencing on the same day for everybody?
They've got Chokwe and Jody on the same day. I don't know where they set Aaron at. I assume, why not? I mean, usually the court likes to do that just in terms of scheduling. It's easier, and then that's the facts that are coming out, so they can kind of be consistent here and there. So I would imagine Aaron's is going to be the same day. I don't know about the other Marve Smith and Angelique Lee, because I bet their federal probation may be done, or I don't know if they delayed it or put it on hold until there was a trial and see how good their testimony, add that to the report. I'm sure they're going to do that like a supplement. So but I bet they're closer in the process than these guys are. So, I mean, I think they could, I guess you could see their sentencing happen within the next month or so, I would think, depending on the court schedule.
Now, I mean, this is all probably irrelevant, but let's just say Jody and Chokwe, for example, the odds of them going to the same prison, pretty slim.
That's up to Bureau of Prisons, completely up to them. So I don't know how they, that is their policy. The lawyers, the judges, everybody's kind of you can ask the judge during sentencing that, you'd like them to be at a prison that's closer to where they live, their family is. But Bureau of Prisons, as far as I know, doesn't have to really take even the district judge's recommendation on that. They can just kind of do what they want. That's a process that, like everybody's kind of not involved in, where kind of like MDOC, when somebody goes into MDOC does whatever crap they do, and God knows where people end up. I'll have time I hear stories that somebody never went to Parchment and they went to like some house in, Grenada. I'm thinking of a friend of ours who told me that recently, but yeah, it just, you just don't know. It's just that becomes like an administrative thing that's out of the kind of out of the criminal justice system's hands at that point.
Let's see here. We've got an update over at WLBT. Says the best decision he could make. Council members respond to former mayor's guilty plea. Of course, got the same 4-minute and 47-second video up there, but let's see if we got maybe a quote from Stokes or somebody. Let's see. Council Vice President Vernon Hartley says mayor is likely doing what he believes is best for himself, his family, and the community. Quote, he probably weighed a lot of things out, and this was the best decision he could make. He said, it's a decision that will cause the least amount of stress and pain. Says the trial was expected to start in 6 weeks, blah, blah, blah. It says unknown. It is unknown what exactly would be presented, but comments made by attorney in court said that the amount of evidence was staggering, with hundreds of hours of recordings and thousands of documents. Good God, please come out. Let's see here. So the former mayor's plea also comes after Hinds County DA Jody Owens, a co-conspirator in the trial, also pled guilty, likely receiving a deal in exchange for him turning state's evidence. Quote, I believe if they're innocent and fight it, I'm sorry, let me start over there. It says, quote, I believe if they're innocent and fight it, that's a righteous thing to do. But if they see they're better off and their families and communities are better off, I would applaud this decision, said Hartley. Ward 2 Councilman Tina Clay, who replaced former Councilman Angelique Lee, another co-conspirator in the case, had hoped Lumumba would fight the charges and be found not guilty. She says, I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty. I just hope that he's not guilty, she said. Maybe he made some bad judgment calls. He's made some bad judgment calls to be affiliated with the people he was affiliated with. Lumumba received $50,000.
Wait, I'm going to pull that quote up. Did she say, I don't know whether he's guilty or not? Well, apparently he knows because he pled guilty and said, I'm guilty. So he knows, but she doesn't know.
I'm going to drop the quote in the comments here of the live stream, because this is a hell of a thing to say. Let me make sure I put Tina Clay's name on it and not just mine, because I don't want anybody to think this is Clay Edwards talking. Tina Clay, not Clay Edwards, says, all right, there's that. And then here is the quote. come into the live stream, and I'm going to put it up on the screen as well for Sean to read there. Sean, can you see that?
Yeah. I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty. I just hope that he's not guilty. Maybe he made some bad judgment calls. You think he he made some bad judgment to be affiliated with the people? I don't know whether he knows, Clay, that he's guilty because he just admitted it in a federal courtroom.
See, I believe that the
he
people
knows
he's affiliated with are probably saying the same thing. I've made some bad calls being affiliated with this guy. I mean, ask his uncle and them who had the deal on the probation, on the house arrest stuff and the probation track, and then they just filed bankruptcy, being affiliated with him.
That's what I heard.
People's business out there, y'all can figure out who I'm talking about. I don't think anybody that's been affiliated with Chokwe I don't want to say anybody. There's some people that donated to his campaign that got some really lucrative contracts that are laughing all the way to the bank that weren't involved in this. But then there's a lot of people who got screwed being in the Chokwe business, and you're seeing it now.
I also don't know that I'd characterize this as a bad judgment call. A bad judgment call is like, I paid a little bit too much on my car loan. Like it's not that I was involved in a bribery scheme.
Drinking and driving is a bad judgment call. I would even say like drinking and driving, you could say is a bad judgment call.
Yeah.
Whether you hurt anybody, get a DUI or not, you made a bad judgment call. This was a premeditated decision thought out over a considerable amount of time, I assume. And there was plenty of off ramps. Yes, Sean, that's the part too that people don't speak out on this much of. And I don't think we have either. I would be willing to bet that the government gave these guys plenty of off ramps to avoid getting, before they got to Miami, took the cash and made the calls to move the deadlines.
Right.
I bet you there were plenty of opportunities to say no more than just once, and they blew right past them. I mean, hell, Jody vetted these guys, man.
By running their license plate. Yeah. I mean, that's the, I just think it's an unbelievable thing to say. It's a bad judgment call. It's a little bit more significant than a bad judgment call when you're elected mayor and you engage in a bribery scheme. You take money to do an official act, and that's not just a bad judgment call. That's a character problem, in my opinion. I mean,
and that quote right there is by an elected official in Jackson, Mississippi, and it says so much about the quality of people that the majority of Jacksonians keep voting for. It's like, why can't y'all vote for somebody that has some damn sense? And on the flip side, maybe people aren't running that have sense because they don't want to deal with this cluster F. So maybe it's just the best of a bad. What does it say? Pick your poison. Least poisonous option.
Yeah, true. I mean, I just I think the appropriate response to me would be, I feel for his family, his wife and kids, but he made, he committed this act against, the dignity of his office and the citizens of Jackson. So, he's got to pay the price for that. It's not that he made a bad job. I just hope he's not guilty. You know what I mean? Like that's not to me, that's not the appropriate response. It's like, we're rooting for him not to be not guilty. I mean, he said he was guilty. He's on the video doing it. I don't know what else you need. It's just an acceptance. I mean, it's not accepting reality is my problem with it. It's not accepting reality. Like, this is a bad guy. Okay.
I hope he's not guilty. Well, yeah, I would have hoped he wouldn't have done any of this.
Right.
That would have been the best thing. I would have hoped he wouldn't have done any of this, but if he did it, I hope he's guilty. I hope he's not pleading guilty to something he didn't do because he just felt like there was no other way, that the BS evidence was just insurmountable. He clearly did this, and he's going to pay the price for it. And frankly, not the price he should pay. I think the government should have rescinded any deals, but I understand why they do it. They like that. They like to keep that undefeated, that streak alive, those W's on their side, and they don't want to go in there because, hey, anything can happen with the jury. That's why you made it clear, Sean. You take the pleas if you can get them, right?
I mean, think about it. Right now, if you're the U.S. Attorney's Office, you just secured a gigantic win. You took down the district attorney, the mayor, former mayor, and a former councilman. I mean, I'd have to look around the country to see where something like that's happened before. And I don't mean like there's been political corruption in high offices, but generally what you see is like you get a lot of people in a police department. Like I'm thinking of Serpico, if you've ever watched that back in the right.
Movie, right?
What him?
Al Pacino in that?
Yeah. The 70s, like just or that movie with Denzel Washington with Russell Crowe, like American Gangster. Yeah, like when you take down, I think that was kind of like answering to that. But there's usually like a department, or there's a corrupt councilman, or there's the corrupt mayor. It's not when all these agencies, or for lack of a better term, intersect. Like the DA has nothing to do with the mayor. Like they're not under the same chain of command. They don't take orders from each other. They're just two different government figureheads at the top of their food chain. It's not, but these two guys came together. Like I'm the mayor and the DA, and they pulled this off in one thing. I'd like to know when that's ever happened in the country before, or that's where you've had the district attorney and the mayor in cahoots on a bribery scheme. Now, again, we've seen a lot of bribery schemes before involving elected officials. I just want to see when these two different offices, it'd be like, I guess, an example, if President Trump and Chief Justice Roberts got together and were in a, you know what I mean? Like two different branches of government that are in this, separate and apart from each other, that are in a scheme together. Like it just wouldn't, it's very strange in my mind.
It's wild, man. Wild. I'm glad it's over. It ain't over, and I haven't done it yet because I had a post go nuclear viral earlier today that kind of distracted me from some of this on my day off. Nonetheless, my day off has turned into anything but a day off. Self-inflicted, mind you. Clicks and views do pay money, so it's all good in the hood over here. But Sean, I got two nice shiny gold belts right behind me.
Oh, do you?
And I haven't given out. I've been limiting my FAFO championships to legitimate FOs. And I said that I wasn't going to do another one until this happened. I did lie. I have made a couple. But with that said, I think when we get off here, I'm going to run it back, and I'm going to officially, for the first time, make Chokwe, Antar Lumumba, and Jody Owens. I don't give a damn about Aaron. Yeah. Chokwe, I got two belts for two idiots. I'm going to make a double FAFO video when we get out of here and make them the grand champions. And I think I'm probably going to retire the FAFO grand champion gimmick. I've gotten a lot out of it. It's been fun. And I think that there's really nowhere to go but down once you get to crown those two.
Yeah, I don't see how you beat this one. Okay, you're going to beat it. Like you just can't. I mean, they are the winners.
I agree. I agree. I mean, it's time. I think the phrase FAFOs kind of jumped the shark anyway. As much as I love Trump, but when the president starts using it, it's kind of jumped the shark a little bit. So I think it's kind of time to retire it altogether a little bit. I will still sell merch now. I'm not going to miss a dollar, but I think it's time to crown the last two champions and retire it. At least get a new belt, if nothing, another new belt. But
it kind of reminds me, if you did another FAFO champion after them, it'd be like, you ever seen Rocky V when Rocky retires and they give it to that other guy, Union Kane, and they're like, well, he's a paper champ. That's what it'd be, be a paper champ. That would just,
well, technically, since they are studio gangsters, they could be paper champs.
That's right. So nobody could steal this title, but I mean, all serious note, I think it's, hopefully this is a good path for the city. You've gotten rid of the corruption of the Lumumba administration and that group, and now the district attorney's office is going to change hands, power, hopefully to somebody that will lead the office with respect and dignity, for lack of a better way of putting it. I'd hope to see that. It hasn't happened in a long time, even prior to Jody Owens, my old boss. Like, it'd be nice for that to happen again. So we'll see, because Tate still got to appoint somebody by July the 10th, I think it is. We don't know who that person's going to be, and then there's going to be an election in November. Also, an interesting point of this too, which is a wrinkle for the next Hinds County DA, is that in January of 2027, this January, the Hinds County DA will also become the district attorney of Claiborne and Jefferson counties. Because,
really?
Because the legislature
consolidating. Yeah, money.
Well, I think because Hinds County has shrunk because of population loss in City of Jackson over the course of the last couple decades, and then that person will run for a actual full term in November of 2027 as the DA of Hinds County, Jefferson, and Claiborne. Will have to run in all three counties, so that presents a different challenge for whoever this person is.
That that's interesting. So it's similar to how Bubba is the DA for Rankin in Madison. Isn't the Yazoo DA multiple counties too, Sean?
Yeah, I worked there before. It's Yazoo, Humphreys, and Holmes County. That is another district that is getting split up. That is going to become Humphreys and Holmes, I believe, is going with the Washington County District. Dwayne Richardson is the current DA. He's getting those counties. And Yazoo is going over to Warren County with Ricky Smith. It's going to be part of that district. Now, I don't think that happens in 27. I think that actually happens in 2031. But for the purposes of the metro area, Hinds County is gaining Claiborne and Jefferson counties in January, very shortly, which is going to really create logistical problems for the next district attorney. And how they're going to deal with it, I have no idea.
You're trying to edit.
Sorry, my phone went off. Yeah, so I don't know how they're going to deal with that. It's going to be an interesting thing. And then also they'll have to run an election a year from now in those two counties where they presumably don't have political contacts or know many people. So fun with that.
Yeah, that's going to be a shit show. That's going to be a shit show. I'm sorry, I was Googling Jody Owens quotes here. I should have been keeping a file of all this, but I just didn't. See here. It says, I'm just trying to find some of his funny quotes. It says, let's see, during Owens' re-election victory party, November 7, 2023, being congratulated by developers, Owens responded unprompted to his position as DA was, quote, the part-time job. The full-time job is developing. This is the part-time job to get leverage for the full-time job. It's not the sexy quote I was looking for. I was looking for the selling anything quote.
I buy cows.
Yeah, I buy cows.
Word. Yeah, that's my favorite of this whole time is still the actually, and I have a Clay. If you want to put this up on the screen, I do have it screenshotted. I will text it to you. It is worth it.
If you have the ability to put on the screen.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well then I'll do it here.
Plus sign on the bottom. I'm sorry, the little share screen thing.
Yeah, I can just do it there, right? Okay.
I think I have to approve it, but while you're doing that, I'm going to read a few more of his quotes here.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's on my laptop, so I don't have to.
So Owens stated that they would need to avoid paying the city council members too much money up front. Specifically, Owens stated, quote, I don't know if you have been around addicts before, right? You can give them a little blow, a little blunt, a little drink, but if you give them a case of whiskey and you give them a kilo of Coke and them motherfucking pound of weed, they will die, the documents state, which is, so he's talking about Aaron Banks there. And what's funny about that quote is the fact that Jody, of all people, used the I'm an addict as a defense.
Right.
Did he prove them right that if you give an addict a bunch of money up front, that it could kill them and you wouldn't get the use out of them? I would all to get when that happened.
It seems like that's what he was saying.
Oh, here's the great quote. Here now, somebody mentioned something about the vetting in the comments is what made me think about this. It says Owens then informed developers of Banks' demand, telling them we never give them the asking price. And here it is. Ladies, I do apologize. You're about to hear something nasty here, and I apologize, but I'm quoting the former DA. It says, I buy pussy, I buy cars, I buy cows, I buy drugs, whatever. My point is, like Banks need 50, you get 30. He gets installments. That's my game. Some people will overpay and say, I'm the guy who needs more. And some people will choose who to pay. He wants 50. We'll give him 15 this and 15 next year. God, you got to love it. Thank you, Jody Owens.
Okay.
And then of course, I vetted. I forget. Oh, here's the other part. There's so many good ones. He says, I don't give a shit where the money comes from. It can come from blood diamonds in Africa. I don't give a fucking shit. I'm a whole DA. Fuck that shit. My job, as I understand it, with a little paperwork, is to get this deal done and get it done most effectively, he said. Ah, man. And of course,
did you ever see Rita Brent's song that she did that? It's so good.
Yes, I did. I saw it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I remember thinking it was funny when I saw it. And for those that don't know, Jody also said that he vetted the federal agents and said they're not feds. I vetted them. And he vetted them by running the tag number on the cars they were driving, like it was going to go back to, like it was going to bounce back to the fucking White House or J. Edgar Hoover building. Let's see what Sean's got here.
Yeah, just put it there. Yeah, there it is.
My screen bigger so I can see it. Rashawn, will you read that to us?
Okay, it says during an FBI interview, Smith stated, that's Marve Smith, his cousin that was a cooperating government witness, that Owens took a picture of one of the license plates on one of the vehicles used by the CHSs. Those are the FBI fake real estate developers, CHSs. According to Smith, Owens used that information to try to determine whether the CIHs were CHS, excuse me, were legit. So he ran he ran their license plates thinking it would come back as like FBI, J. Edgar Hoover Building, Washington, D.C., not thinking that, if they were actually FBI agents, they may think, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need to register the license plate to the FBI. So, I mean, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. That would not be my strategy of confirming that somebody wasn't an FBI agent, that their license plate did not go back to the FBI, because I would assume the FBI, God, I hope they would have that handled. And apparently here they did have that handled, and it did not go back to the FBI as we would assume.
Man, I mean, this is the guy that is was the top cop in all of Hines County.
Yep.
I mean, I know technically Tyree Jones.
Yep.
Tyree Jones. For some reason, Tyree Smith. Anyway, Tyree Jones is the top cop. But as far as enforcement of the law, prosecution of the law, there was nobody higher, nobody more powerful than Jody Owens. And this is how he vetted federal agents, was, by snitches or whatever, by running their tag numbers. I mean, man.
It is something else. It is something else.
It just can't be understated, or it can't be overstated how stupid that is.
When I read it, it was a footnote, as you can see when I put it up, and I read it, and I just couldn't quite believe it. And it was in the government's response to his motion to dismiss about the FBI got me white girl wasted defense, and they put that in there, and nobody news or anybody was reporting it, and I read it, and I was like, this is gold. Like, how can nobody written this? And so I told Anthony Warren the other day about it. I think he wrote it up, and he was like laughing because I texted it to him. And because I was like, this is like the funniest thing that I've ever heard of. And they did that. They put that in the footnote as like a bitch slap. I mean, that's why they did that. That was they didn't really have, that really is not necessary. I mean, that's just I
would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. And look, guys, I just dropped the link in the comments there. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, you can click that link in the comments, and it's got all the best quotes from this WLBT. Did a good breakdown of it there. And of course, it's got our classic photo of the two clowns on the couch. And I thought I'd digitize that thing in Grok to make it look a little better. Curious if I can find that and get it shared, because I digitized it the other day. Just like, man, just clean this up for me, and let's see if we can't make it look a little bit better. Because, oh man, guys, I apologize if this live stream is just kind of us bullshitting, because that's really all this is. It's just, this is kind of a victory lap more than it is anything, because Sean and I took a lot of grief over this. Tell the story again real quick. When we got the word that this had happened and the whole boat party happened, we kind of ran with it. We were green on a lot of this stuff when it came to like breaking real stories. I mean, neither one of us had ever really done this. And we were live on the radio and just kind of ran with it, trusted the source. And well, apparently the source was just a little too good, a little too right, a little too soon. And we broke the news that they had pictures of them on a boat in Miami doing some things they didn't need to do. Well, man, we were a little more right than we thought we were. And that was what we said, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day weekend, 2024, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And,
2 years
we
ago.
We got some calls. They didn't reach out to us directly, but they reached out to mutual acquaintances and said, hey, you can tell Sean and Clay to take that shit off the internet, or we will be knocking on their door and ruin their weekend. And to me, that sounds like you're telling me I'm going to jail if I don't do what you're asking. Last thing I want to do is get hung up lying to the feds or go to jail on Memorial Day weekend and try to have to figure it out. So, but that's how close we were to this thing. Like, we would have had a part in a movie if we had screwed this up.
Yeah. And when we heard that story, it seemed so I mean, it's like it really was like a movie because we kept talking about the ab scam thing and what's that movie, American Hustle,
Yes.
and it was like, was there really? Did these guys really get on a boat in Miami? Did they really go to a strip club? The strip club in Miami that everybody, the famous one, and with FBI cash. Like this is just so fantastic that I can't even wrap my head around how awesome content it is for one thing, and that like did this all actually occur? It seemed like because we were on the fence, like did that really happen? That apparently once they did that, we were like, this actually freaking happened. like, like this is no joke. And then we had some other sources that were coming in. There were a few that were actually at the boat party, or like the flyer that, and then I mean we're like, okay, well this is a true story. This boat party actually happened. So
Yeah. So I'm strolling through my pictures here because it's not letting me re-download and resave. My computer's weird sometimes. If I got a picture in here already and I download a picture, it won't let me find it. It just resaves it to the same place the old one is, and I can't find the old one. But I digitized the photo of them on the boat to make it look a lot better because the version that's been floating around forever looks like crap. And I just think it was taken with a potato. But well, it don't matter. But I just thought we would put a better version of it up there. Let's get back to reading some of y'all's messages here. And I see that we've got a bunch of clowns in here that are mad about my post from earlier today. I don't care. Y'all can be as mad as you want. Don't get upset that that I just call out y'all's nonsense. Y'all went and accused a bunch of kids of being guilty of something before a body was even found. So screw you, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see here. Look, I'm just kind of randomly selecting these things, so y'all bear with me if they're not even questions. It says the Owens family were farmers, big money in cattle.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I mean, nobody's doubting that Jody sold cows. It's just the context in which he said that he sold cows and poontang. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool, you sell cows and poontang.
Yeah.
Interesting. Same person says, Lil Nicky, never mind, responding to somebody. Jay Craig says the federal government was laughing their ass off when that license tag was ran. And yes, they were aware when it got ran, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm guessing they get a ping if somebody runs their BS tag.
I wouldn't think so, but then they had a cooperating witness that confirmed it too, that said that this is what that's his cousin that said that this is what he did. And that's according to what you just showed on the screen there. It says government's witness Marve Smith is the one who informed us that he did that. So Jody was telling his cousin like, "Yo, guess what? I ran him. Everything's cool."
Hey, what's funny about that too is like nobody thought to themselves, "You stupid idiot." Did nobody push back and say, Jody, that if they're undercover, they're going to have that covered? We know y'all don't in Jackson. Or Hinds County. Well, I don't want to roll anybody else under the bus here. So I'm going to wind that back as far as like Jackson and Hinds County. There are some good cops in Jackson. There's some damn good cops out at the sheriff's department. But man, what an idiot running the DA's office. What an idiot.
Well, I said, something last week when this happened, and I think this is a good lesson for the public. When you're trying to elect somebody to be district attorney or circuit court judge, you need to vet their experience, because this is not like just electing your local house rep or who it's supposed to be a citizen's house and then that's fine. And then they go there and they work and they, vote on legislation I get it. But when you're like voting for someone to be district attorney, it's probably a good idea that person has some experience in criminal law, like some, that's what you're going to be doing. You're enforcing the laws of that county as district attorney. You probably need to have done it at one point in your life. Now, Jody Owens was working at the Southern Poverty Law Center. He had nothing to do with criminal law, being a criminal lawyer, knowing anything about it. And then he just ran on this slogan of smart justice. That's kind of funny now. And he gets elected district attorney based on, this was kind of smart justice. They came up with a pretty good scheme that got him. And then that's what you get. And then you get a guy that has zero experience in this and doesn't know what he's doing. And luckily though, I will say this, he's got a good office and he did a good job in terms of like the technical upgrades and those things, but you need somebody who's actually done. I'm not saying even the DA needs to be the heavy hitter trial lawyer because they got a lot of administrative duties and whatnot, but they need to have actually sat 12 people in a box and talked to them. Like they need to have done that at least one time. You cannot elect somebody that's never done that to that job. It's just, you just cannot do that, because then you're going to get results like this. And so I think that's a hope this time, whoever is, in the mix, that they ask them like, hey, have you ever like picked a jury? Because that's kind of one of the requirements of this. Like, have you done that before? And Jody would have to answer no, because he hadn't done that. And I think that's pretty important. I hope the voters actually think about that here in the next few months.
Man, Sean, I would like to think that too. But then what you see is, especially going to be coming off of Tate appointing somebody for the next till the special election can be had, and that's going to be held against. And God forbid they actually come in and they're aggressive. You're going to see whoever comes in to run say, "Look at what happens when the Republicans put somebody in here. They come after our sons and our daughters, and they want to lock everybody up." I just have such low faith in the predominant demographic over in Jackson that does the voting when it comes to this stuff, because it's just so emotional about some of this. But man, it's like it will make your community safer. And I'm trying to tiptoe around the race aspect, I really am. But it will make your community so much safer if you will get somebody in there that is pro locking an MFer up that is violent and guilty, and you can get these judges to do their part too. It ain't just the DA's office. And look, I completely understand that, but there are some things that, we can't help but assume, based on what Jody Owens himself said, that maybe didn't make it through the grand jury,
and then also what happened to my former employer. I mean, I think that there is an understandable lack of confidence in the criminal justice system in Hinds County, and even before him, Ed Peters. I mean, need I say more? So this is not like a racial thing, because he was probably the most corrupt one out of everybody. The stories that you've heard them, I've heard them. They're kind of just. I don't think Ed would have even got caught up in this, though. He's too slick. You know what I mean? But it just but the stories about Ed, are crazy going down. So there's been that cultural corruption in Hinds County going back the last 50 years. And so the public understandably doesn't have confidence in the system for those reasons. I think though I do, the only thing I would say about the voters, I picked juries over there, and I did a year ago. I remember on that capital murder case in Hinds County, and the jurors are obviously they register to vote, so you get called up for jury duty. Most of them, I noticed a shift from when I was prosecuting there, God, starting back in 2007, so almost 20 years ago. The potential jurors now, which wasn't very good for me as a criminal defense lawyer, were their attitudes had shifted to like, we're sick of this shit. Like that's and these were predominantly black jurors that were saying like, we are sick of this shit. I had several raise their hand and say that, because I mean, you got to think about it. These are people that are showing up to jury duty, so they're not just bunch of assholes for the most part. They actually they do care about civic duty, and they were tired of it. So if there's enough of people out there like that and are thinking about that, then I think you've got a shot to get somebody decent that they're actually, because I mean, and I saw it, and I tell you what, almost 20 years ago, those weren't the answers I was getting when I was on the state side asking. And I was like, oh damn, this is not good for me on the state side. Now it's kind of flipped. I'm like, it's not good for me on the defense side, because now they're more pro law enforcement. 20 years ago, they were like, like they must have been set up. They were more prevalent to do that. So I think, over the course of the last 20 years, crime has gotten so much worse that if you live in Jackson, you vote in Jackson, you're responsible enough to show up to jury duty, then you actually kind of give a damn a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like to a point, and you are sick of it. So I think that there is at least enough contingent out there to pay attention. Hopefully that contingent will win out. I'm not saying it will, but I hope that it will.
Yeah, I guess we'll just see who runs. These special elections I've seen, now that I've really been paying attention the last 7 or 8 years, in particular, these special elections can be a shit show. And somebody interesting could sneak in that has no business being a DA, just like somebody can sneak in and do the same thing in a mayor's or any other race for that matter. So fingers crossed that the governor puts somebody in there that they think can win. And maybe they do. We'll see. Let's see here. Bourbon Diplomacy makes a great point here. Former recently retired 30-year law enforcement officer in Hinds County. He says they are not really going to have time to do anything. It will take them some time just to get caught up to speed with what is going on in the office. Good point. But I tell you what, they could sure come in and screw it up.
Well, I mean, they've got a, I've told you this before, they got a good candidate in the office right now who's well qualified, I think, to do it. And I mean, that wouldn't take them any time because they're already up to speed. So that you could just do that. And I think that
we're
would work
speaking
the
of
best.
Gwen, right?
Yeah, Gwen, I think she runs the office now anyway, for the most part. I think she could there wouldn't be any learning time. So you wouldn't run into that for somebody new that was outside the office. And I agree with what urban diplomacy said. That is a problem because you have to have some institutional knowledge to run that office. And because I mean, you really need that. And I'm not just saying that. It's true. I've been there. You have to have that. And so if you appointed her, I think you don't miss a beat anyway, because it's not like Jody was sitting there running the office for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You think about it that way.
Do you think most people, I mean, look, yeah, I have my thoughts in that office, but even I, think that I'm able to separate Jody from that office. I think but do you think maybe Tate or somebody's looking at the situation and saying it needs to be somebody from the outside because everybody else is tainted by what the DA, by what Jody did? Except I would say this, what kind of like you've mentioned multiple times here, that it's weird that the mayor and the DA are tied in together on this because they have nothing to do with one another.
Right. I
kind of look at that like on this particular situation. Now I think Jody's done some other thing. I can't forget or forgive the Anthony Fox thing. That always looms dark over that office for me and Jody. But do you think maybe they're saying it's got to be somebody from the outside because, like I said, everybody else is maybe overly affiliated with Jody? And even like I say, as I say all that, I don't know that I overly affiliate everybody with there. I don't know that I would have a problem with it being somebody from the inside. But do you think maybe that's what the Tate and his people could be saying? Like, we need an outside set of eyes to come in and get involved in this thing for just a minute and see if there's maybe some stuff going on in there we're not aware of. Let them kind of get their hands on everything.
Oh yeah, I could definitely. If somebody's on the outside, like Tate's office or even general public, I think that there could be that feeling. I think that's a natural feeling, like to say, do we just need to get somebody else? The problem with that is that they've never worked at the Heinz DA's office before and obviously I didn't work for Jody Owens, but I worked for Robert Smith under not the same circumstances, but under a DA that was under a huge cloud too. And when you have that dynamic, you don't have how do I say this? Most people in there are not the loyalists to the DA that you would think. They're like, this is what they're thinking because I've been there and they're like, holy shit, this is effed up. Like, what do I do? I've got a job that I need, but this guy is under indictment. So you got to walk a fine line. So you're not sitting there. So it's not like they're like, oh, we're in full solidarity. Maybe some people are, but I would think that most people up there were not. And
the ADA is not a political position. I mean, they're hired by somebody that's a politician, but those are state jobs,
right?
Because they're paid for by the state, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
but those are state jobs, not even county jobs, right?
Now, I mean, there's some positions that are paid by depending on the county. Hines County, though, when I was there, and I don't think how the county, Hines County is, they didn't pony up much money. There was one county slot paid position, and I think there's 15 assistant DAs now. So I think there may be one county spot. There was when I was there, but it's primarily paid for by the state. So those they're non-political jobs. I mean, do they have some civil employee protections? It's at will. That's the problem. So if you're there and you work for a lunatic, because I did, you got to keep it quiet because you're like, okay, well, I'm an at-will employee, so I don't have any civil service protection. So what do I do? And that's a very scary thing to do. What I did was quietly sneak out and go to the attorney general's office, which a lot of lawyers do when their boss goes crazy, just for advice out there. We used to call it the landing pad to get away from insanity. So that's something that you run into when you work for the DA's office, that you're an at-will employee, you don't have any civil service protection, so you got to keep your mouth shut. So I think that if the governor's looking at it that way, I mean, I can see where that perception would come from. That's a natural, but I can pretty much guarantee that's not accurate. That wouldn't be, but it's hard for people to know that unless you were there working there under those conditions. It's just hard for people to know that.
Little Nikki here, I figured you'd appreciate this, says, I worked for Michael Guest when he was DA. It's very crazy how it works in real life versus on paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just in those offices, I'm sure. Let's see here. Catherine says Ed would have a cover up.
Probably so. He would, I mean, I don't think I don't know that Ed actually, ever entered a guilty plea. Because I was talking to a friend of mine that used to work at the DA's office yesterday, and he said that he kind of laughed because he's pretty angry. He's a former employee of District Attorney Owens, and he said, he's like, that dumb SOB became the first person DA to actually have a guilty conviction while they were DA. And the thought process was, why didn't you resign the office prior to entering the guilty plea? And that's what you would think you would have done, because now he goes down as the only Hinds County DA with a felony conviction while he was Hinds County DA. Ed, I believe, kind of made some kind of deal and slid out. I think Ed was on trial and got found not guilty. And then later with the Dickie Scruggs thing, he wasn't DA, but he didn't get a felony then. I think he just gave back the money or some deal, whatever went on, for ratting out Bobby DeLauder, as far as I remember it. And then Robert Smith was found not guilty, even though he was indicted on several different cases. So Jody's the only one that's actually got a felony conviction while they're district attorney.
Stupid.
So yeah.
And then there's a lot of firsts that came out of this.
Yeah.
A lot of first, because Frank had a mistrial and he died before the new trial, so he didn't die a felon. Yep. He was never a felon in office and never caught a felony. So Chokwe, to the best of my knowledge, unless I'm forgetting something, will be the first Jackson mayor, former, current, or when any other, to catch a felony.
I think that's probably right. Yeah. I mean, now Aaron's not the first. I think Louis Armstrong got one, right?
Over the stuff with John Adams.
But but I think you're right. Chokwe, they're the first as far as
Sleepy Black says, boy, if Michael Guest was Hinds County DA, they don't want that structure. No, I don't know so much about Michael the Congressman, but Michael the DA, he was hell. At least his office was.
Oh, they were a great office, and that's continued with Bubba. I mean, I think I was again having this conversation with another lawyer yesterday. I mean, if you look at the difference between Bubba Bramlett's office and what's gone on in Hinds County for the course of the last 20 years, it's just night and day. It's just night and day. And I think that could happen in Hinds County, and because there's a staff there, it's just been a leadership problem in my mind for 20 years. It's not a staffing problem. It's not an assistant DA problem. It's a leadership issue. And again, Jody did some things that were good. There are some things that I know it's hard. It's kind of funny. Like when you say Hitler kept the trains running on time, it's kind of like that. There are some things that were positive in terms of like the technology upgrades and the way Discovery moves and whatnot. But that being said, leadership is number one when you have an office like that. And I think they could get it the same way depending on who gets the position.
Interesting. Let's see here. Don, I wanted to hit this one. Don says, I bet $1 against the donut hole that if either one of them ran for office tomorrow, they would both be reelected. Well, when you say that, but Chokwe unanimously got his ass whooped in the mayor election, didn't win a single precinct, and didn't get a single vote in the precinct that he votes in.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. It was a pretty bad beatdown.
I mean, I would have said the same thing. And y'all know me, I'm not optimistic about Jacksonians' voting habits at all. I thought he might win, at least if he won the Democrat primary, he was going to win the general. But like I had little to no hope that he would lose. I really did. I thought he would win the damn thing and would go down as the mayor, which would have been epic. And of course, I was always rooting for whatever the most embarrassing situation for Jackson is, because I feel like Jackson got itself into this. It needed to pay the consequences to get itself out, because I felt like that was the ultimate rock bottom. Was him being perp walked as the mayor. And that's the other disappointing thing too, is we never got a real perp walk. I just had to make one for AI. But I mean, I guess now's as good a time as any to remind people of that glorious image, huh, Sean?
Yeah, I still think the low point for Jackson was when the monkey attacked the zookeeper. That's my point right there. That's a point in Jackson history I'll never forget.
No, but we'll have to settle for this.
Yes.
We'll have to settle for this. The Freeland 3. I know there was more, but these were the 3 that held on the longest. These were the 3 stooges, the clowns, the Freeland 3 that helped really destroy Jackson. I mean, Aaron didn't do a damn thing for my parents live in his ward, and he didn't do shit. Obviously, Chokwe there in the center. Can't name one positive thing he did for the city. Not a single solitary thing. And then, of course, Jody there on the far left, and not the best picture of him, AI rendering, but y'all know who it is. I can't think of anything positive that he did. At least the negatives so outweigh the positives that they get lost in the shuffle there. And it's definitely time to turn the page and hopefully move on from all this and just be a footnote in history. Maybe there'll be a John Grisham novel. Somebody said that in the comments there. I would love to see a novel, even if it's quasi fiction, because I'd like to see some kind of end, kind of behind the scenes, the minutia. I would like to see how it all went down there in the back room at the smoke shop there on Capitol Street. I mean, on Pearl Street, Jody's not Fourth Avenue, but the Jackson Daiquiri Bar, whatever it was called, cigar shop. Mm-hmm. I would love to have been a fly on that wall. I know I keep saying that, but I just, knowing the culture like I do, I would love to hear how that whole conversation fell. And, I can't help but wonder how some other people missed out on this, on being involved in this, not calling anybody a criminal or nothing like that. But it would have been very interesting to have seen, what's his name? Polo's former nemesis, David Archie. Would have been interesting to have seen David Archie involved in this somehow or another. I'm not accusing David of anything. I'm just saying because he's such a character.
Yeah, the trial would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Then Malcolm Johnson. How did Malcolm miss out on this? I guess because they just looked at both of them. They like to talk a lot, so they didn't involve them in it. But, just thinking of some of the people that missed out and how Angelique did all this for a little single day shopping spree. I mean, a couple $100, less than couple $1,000, that's why, Sean, I keep going back to this. We've got to quit electing broke people to these positions.
Yeah.
And people who don't have real jobs and real careers, people who can't manage their own checking book, don't need to be in charge of the city's checking book. And I know that the DA is not, but the city council is. The city council is in charge of writing the checks for the city. And if they got bad credit and they can't carry a full-time job, they do not need to be doing this. You don't need activists in these positions. You need smart people who know how to run a business, or at least know how not to screw one up. It's just some common sense. We'll go a long, long way. Quit running everything like an activist. Quit pretending everything's a battle and everything's a fight and that anybody's holding anybody down. It's time for Jackson to get his shit together. It's time for y'all to vote for some good people that will steer the ship in the right direction. It's not that hard to fix this. It really isn't. You just got to quit doing the wrong things and good things will just start to happen. I mean, look at John Horn. I don't mean to just, sit here and just filibust, but we said this for 2 or 3 years, Sean, that the next mayor, all they had to do was just quit doing everything wrong, right. And just kind of like every time you have an opportunity and everything says go left, don't go right, go left. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, an engineer, or even an astronaut to start unfucking Jackson. It will just start unfucking itself if you just let a city run the way it's supposed to. Just let cops do what they're supposed to do. And the big step back with this police chief hire. Don't like it. She's not doing a good job. I think she'll be out within a year. But how much further does that set the city back? Hopefully they'll get this out of their system, get somebody real in there that can come in and rule with an iron fist and get that fixed. We'll see. I don't have high expectations. But even with that said, the city is getting a little bit better. There is some development. There is some promise of a better tomorrow with Chalkway gone, with somebody who's not a complete nincompoop.
I think John Horn's doing it. Obviously there's I don't know the full extent of the issues with the police. I don't like that she fired Wendell, obviously, but there are some but I don't know all the particulars either. So I hate making judgment on things. But but what I would say is that I think John overall has been doing a pretty competent job.
That's what I'm saying.
I think we're saying, I think we're saying the same thing. I think he's doing a good job. There's not, nothing that I've seen that's crazy.
Red flag for me. And, because I held it to my end of the bargain. I said, man, I'm going to give them a year to figure out where the bathrooms are at and kind of I hate to keep cussing here, but there's no better word than unfuck, because that's the only way to describe what Chalkway and the Free the Land Mafia have done to Jackson is they've effed it up. And he's got to figure out just how bad it was effed up. I did find it disappointing that he had every opportunity to invite Shad in and say, Shad, just go through it all. And let's, just figure out what's going where so we can stop the bleeding. And kind of start fresh. And there was never going to be a better opportunity to do that. I just don't know, was he worried that the culture would frown upon bringing in the Republicans to clean up the Democrats' mess? It can come down to that sometimes, and it hurt him in a future reelection in his mind. So I don't know, but
I don't know. I would say the only I'd say to that, I'm not saying I think there needs to be an audit, but we know how Shad can get really political with kind of everything. So maybe if you're a politician, you're not sure if you want to bring him in to politicize you too much. I could see where that hesitation would come. Because he does like to be very political, and I think that would be my concern if I was the mayor of Jackson. Like, is he going to politicize my ass? Like that's what I would worry about. Not actually doing the audit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that portion of it would bother me.
Yeah. Like I said, I would like to have seen something done there. But other than that, I think he's done a pretty good job. I need to respond to some of these comments. These are unrelated to this, but when stupid people say stupid things, I want to acknowledge them real quick. This person here, how many vowels do you have in your name? Tremaine says, Clay, why are you so quiet on Nolan Wells? Why aren't you on site like you always are? Why so quiet? Keep the same energy. You couldn't wait to hear all the facts on the Senatobia incident. Well, I guess you haven't been paying attention. I'm not driving to the coast and I don't have a boat to get to Horn Island to be on site. Second, I started talking about that this morning. You should go follow my page and quit jumping in the comments until you've at least looked at my page. And B, I have not been quiet about it at all. I've definitely given my opinion that the culture is already blaming it on the white kids. And I said, why don't you at least let the body be found before y'all start pointing the finger at anybody, that everything's not about race. Y'all are so desperate to make it about race when it's not always about race. Most of the time, it's actually not about race. We'll find out what happened to the kid. And just like with Senatobia, I've spoken my opinion on it. I don't really have nothing else to say about it. So at least look at my page and know that I haven't talked about something before you suggest that I haven't talked about it. My post this morning already has nearly 3 million views. I think I've been pretty loud about what I had to say about it. So with that said, Sean, you got anything you want to close out with?
I just I guess this puts a button on the whole thing, and we'll see what happens with the city, with the DA's office, and hopefully it works out. One thing I know is going to work out better. It can only go up. That's where we are looking at right now. It can only go up. Unless we find another, Miami yacht scandal person that gets that office or whatever. But other than that, I think at least there's a good possibility of some, upward mobility.
Yeah. Well, again, it's closure.
Mm-hmm.
And the city needed closure. Again, this is always something we've been right about the whole time. People wanted to fight, fuss, and argue about it. And we were right. We've been right the whole time. They're going to go to anywhere from, I guess, 3 to 5 years on the low end and the high end. And they'll have time to think about what they did. And I think that Chokwe, was it you that said it earlier in the live? Well, it had to be you that said it. It wasn't me. This hurts Chokwe more than it helps him. I think a guilty plea, I think a trial would have helped him as far as in the culture's eyes, because he went down swinging, but also he was looking at a whole lot of time. 5 years sounds a hell of a lot better than 80 something years or whatever it was he was looking at. So I think he made the right decision. I think it was a best deal any of them were going to get. Yeah. We said it last week about Jody, the difference in a good plea and a bad plea. I think he got a really good deal considering what he was looking at. And look, I've said this even as the biggest Chokwe hater. I think any more than 5 or 7 years is probably too much time for these, based on what they did for this. Yes, he destroyed the city. He should be punished for that. But I don't know if we can necessarily load all that in on top of each other. But if we're just talking about what this crime is and what they got out of it versus what they're getting time-wise, I'm okay with 5 years. Anything less, I got a problem with it. I'd have been happier with like 7 years is really the number I was thinking. I think that's what I told you. I thought 7 to 10 was really satisfying based on all the bullshit they put the city through and the pile of dead bodies in the city because of their ineptitude. But, we get 5 years and he has to go and do it, enjoy it. I'm going to be happy sleeping on my pillow every night, knowing that since I was one of the first people to start calling him out 7, 8 years ago when it wasn't very popular to do so. and I caught all kind of backlash for it, I'm going to enjoy sleeping on my bed every night while the guy that I told y'all was a crook is sleeping on a cot defending his bunghole.
Yeah.
Sleeping on his back. Don't give up your rear. Don't give up.
Do some Kegel exercises or whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Just be careful. And same goes for Jody. And like, I have less sympathy for Jody because of the Anthony Fox stuff, and the rest of them I don't care about. If Aaron Banks don't serve a day in jail, I don't really give a damn. He should go to jail for his DUI more so than this. And the fact that he was such a drunk that they gave him a driver, not to keep him from drinking and driving more necessarily, but to keep him from getting another DUI so he could actually see the vote through. That's wild. There's just so many little things about this that are just crazy to me. But the fact that they paid this dude, got him a private security / driver, whatever you want to call it. He didn't need that for his reelection campaign because of his DUI. He needed that to prevent himself from getting another DUI and getting kicked off the council so he could see this vote through. It's just the little things like that, and the vetting them by running their tag. And it's the little things. And, honestly, the person who I think kind of got, what am I trying to say here? The only one we don't have a great quote from is Chokwe.
Yeah. Yeah. He was smarter than that, I guess,
Well, like I say, this wasn't his first rodeo.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing. I mean, he got it. Like, even if you look at the transcript from the indictment, and he doesn't really make, he's very limited in what he says. Which is a strategy that mobsters have used for decades and works pretty well, generally so.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll go back, and I will say one of the things that he did, and I'll let you go after this, but one of the things he did that I thought was just a really terrible look for him was the deadline to file for reelection when he showed up at 1 minute till.
Oh yeah. I'll never forget that.
Dressed like a hood rat.
He was dressed interestingly for sure for that kind of event. Yeah.
It's like knowing the cameras are going to be there. And then that video of him that he put on TikTok of him on the boat. It's just like he did a lot of things just in bad taste, but it fits the brand at the same time. Kind of the FU to authority kind of brand, but again, studio gangster. So, all right, dude. Well, look, I'm going to respond to some of these comments about this other topic here. So I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, you guys have fun.
And we'll talk about the show in the morning later.
Okay, cool. See you.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, clear him up there, and I will read some of y'all's comments here about this other deal up there down there, should I say, on the coast. And let's see here. Let's bring everybody up to speed on it. Let me pull up the most latest story here. And again, I just like how these people act like nobody's allowed to have an opinion unless it is their opinion. So I find it pretty interesting. The culture wanted to run and blame all that boy's friends on his death, not even knowing how he died. Hell, his body had not even been found yet, and they were just convinced it's like something out of the movie Get Out. I said this in my Facebook post. Y'all are going to push people like white parents, for example. Y'all are going to push them to having to have a talk with their kids about even like the risk reward of having black friends. And I hate to say it like that, but if the risk is going to be anytime they're together, and if anything unfortunate happens to the black kid, that it 100% has to be the white kid's fault, and it has to be because of racism. Guys, I'm telling you, you're going to start seeing more and more parents say, hey, you know what? I don't know if we need that risk, if we need that liability of being called racist and Klansmen and coming after us and our jobs and our employment. And I know employment and jobs are the same thing, our businesses, our homes, all of our stuff, because the culture thinks something went a different way. I mean, look at poor Austin Metcalf's parents. They lose their son, And then the culture comes after them like they're racist, try to ruin their lives. They're the ones who lost a son. They're the ones whose son was killed. Their son wasn't the bad guy. That thug, Carmelo Anthony, was the bad guy. His parents were the trash that raised a thug that became a murderer. And then you got this kid, and this ain't got nothing to do with this kid, Nolan, or his parents or anything else. I am not speaking about them. I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for the culture that decided to come after them. And y'all know good and well, that kid hanging out with majority white kids like that, having a good time. Clearly, you can tell he ain't ate up with the culture, right? Probably raised by both parents, I'm guessing. Probably not from the ghetto. You know, just nice, clean-cut kid, carried himself well. I'm not one to talk about tattoos, but you know, didn't look like a voodoo witch doctor. Look like a good kid. You know, I don't want to speculate what happened to that kid. You know, 4th of July weekend, out on the beach, Horn Island, you know, just guessing how he could have disappeared. I don't want to speculate, but I would say it's probably more alcohol related. That's unfortunate, but that's what, you know, 18, 19-year-old kids do, is they go out, they get drunk, they party, they pass out on the beach. Very well could have been alcohol poisoning, something like that. I don't want to speculate anything else beyond alcohol poisoning because I don't think that's right to do. They'll do a preliminary autopsy. And if something's come out since I've been live and I haven't seen it, please let me know. But I got my phone going right here, and I don't think I've seen a notification that says that, let's see here, Ocean Springs School District confirms body found on Horn Island is Nolan Wells. Other than them confirming that his body was found, I don't believe for 1 minute anything has come out saying that this was a homicide. But the culture runs straight to get out. Something happened to him. It had to be because of race. It had to be racism that got him. Let's go expose all these kids that are in that picture with him. Let's go find out who their parents are. Let's find out where they work. Let's ruin their lives before we know a single solitary thing. Y'all mad. Y'all mad that I called it out. Nobody else would. Clay will. This is what I'm built for, is calling y'all out. I ain't doing y'all's bullshit. Not doing it. Out here just intentionally trying to ruin people's lives before you know a single thing. And y'all try to flip it around. Oh, didn't you do the same thing in Senatobia? You jumped straight in talking about what happened to Senatobia. Only after y'all tried to tell everybody that the cop unalived that baby on purpose. I believed, and still do, what the police said happened. I just read the police report, and that's what I chose to believe. Because every time y'all tell me that it's the other way around, that the cops are in the wrong, not once have you been right. Not a single time. So I tell you what, I'm going to push all my chips in. I'm going to believe what law enforcement said. That's why I made my decision and my opinion on it. Because my opinion wasn't an opinion. I just believe that law enforcement is telling the truth about what happened. I believe Walmart when they say she was stealing a bag of diapers or whatever it was she stole. This ain't rocket science. It really isn't. But y'all want to run straight to the internet and y'all want to somehow find a way to continuously stir up racism. But meanwhile, you'll call all of us the racist. Like, so stupid. I just explain this to stupid people. But if I was a racist, I would be sitting here like, ha ha ha, hell yeah. Look at them boys. They got them one. Complete opposite reaction to what I would believe a racist would think. But y'all over here, like you're almost ecstatic that there's a minority unalived and he was around some white people, so y'all can keep feeding that and continue feeding that and peddling it and pushing it to fit your narrative, to somehow try to convince everybody that anything that's ever gone wrong in your life is only that way because of racism. Never mind the fact that you're a criminal, a thug, you refuse to work, you barely speak English. We all have to see what color underwear you have every time you leave the house. You turn gas stations into killing fields. I could go on and on and on. We just call it culture rot. The culture is rotten. And it's encouraged. And it's taught. And words like accountability are dirty words. It's like y'all understand every other word in the English language, but accountability must have been carved on a cave by ancient aliens, and everybody else on earth can read it, but the culture. I just don't know what it means. I can't put those words together. Yes, it's got more than one vowel, but still, I can't make it make sense. What does this accountability you speak of? Accountability means to accept responsibility for one's actions, give or take. Idiots, man. Some people got the fatigue. Tired of it. I can't wait. Can't wait. You know, to be able to prove y'all wrong again on this one. I saw where that woman who had not one but two sons killed because of thuggish activities inside of about a month of each other come out and blame or accuse the kids he was with of foul play. Like, you got some audacity speaking out on something that you weren't no part of, don't know anything about, couldn't manage your own kids. Got one of them selling your gun and then robbing the guys he was trying to buy it. Sad situation. That's why I got no respect for you. No respect. It's a trash culture. That's why people don't want to be around it. That's why people go out of the way to avoid it. Now let me go in these lovely comments here, as I'm sure they are absolute dumpster fire after that. Well, let's see here. Let's see. LaToya says, but your kids go to school and pew-pew them. No, see, statistically speaking, y'all's kids do that 30% more of the time. So circle that square. All you gotta do is Google it. Just Google it. It ain't hard to Google. Let's see here. Monica says, y'all get off this fool's live making them money. Y'all can't. You're anger addicts. You're anger addicts. You can't get off my lives. You can't get out of my comments. I give you too much red meat. Y'all can't get off of it. Some of y'all screenshot my post and tag me, trying to get me in the comments, hoping I'll bring some of my shine and some of my following over to y'all's little know-nothing pages. It's smarter than that. I love it, man. I love y'all coming in here, getting all up in these comments. Give me that sweet engagement. Give me that engagement. Let's see here. She said, watch and see, fool. You done commented 2 or 3 more times since you said it. Get on out of here. Leave. We're going to talk about you when you go. We're going to talk about you as soon as you leave, Monica. Let's see here. Ashley says, and y'all not superior. Y'all do the same thing black people do. Who said we were superior? Nobody. That's one of y'all's words. None of us ever run around here saying we're superior. All I can do is speak for myself here and the majority of my neighbors because, well, you know, I don't see them on the news. We ain't drug dealers. We ain't killers. And we don't litter. Again, I can only speak for myself. I don't do any of the three: kill, drug deal, or litter. You know, if you can just avoid those things right there, you can probably stay out of prison. You can probably keep a pretty safe neighborhood. Now, 10 minutes down the road in Jackson, different story. And for the ones that move out of Jackson into Flowood or Pearl or Brandon or wherever else that can't leave their Jackson in Jackson, well, I can't wait for y'all to F up and end up in jail because we don't need you here. See, when I moved over here from Jackson, I left the Jackson in Jackson. It's hard. I mean, I didn't realize how much hood rat I had in me. But living around the culture for 42, 43 years, it was a little harder to wash off than I thought it would be. Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard, but I made it work because, well, you know, I don't want to go to jail. I want to make a good impression upon my neighbors. So I get my yard cut every week. I don't litter. Pick my trash cans up from the road, which I need to do now. Trash ran today. We don't have parties out in my front yard all the time. We don't have loud music. We act right. I ain't got no pit bulls running around, escaping, biting neighbors, killing folks. Kristen says, you don't know what goes on in your neighbors' homes. I know there ain't no kick-dos going on out here from the police. I know there ain't no shootings going on because the drug deal's gone bad. I know we got a hell of a police department, a hell of a sheriff's department out here that stay on top of that stuff. And it ain't happening on my block. If it does, well, then I guess I'll be wrong. But I like to play the odds game. And the odds are it ain't happening over here because, well, as I just said, I ain't seen no kick-dos or no drive-bys. But I can cut on the news and see plenty of that 10 minutes down the road. Those are just the facts. That's not a myth. Let's see here. I'm just kind of reading y'all's comments here, so you got to bear with me. Let's see here. Zakoya. They're doing crap like trying to blow the house up for insurance, right? Who's trying to blow a house up for insurance? Is that just like something you saw on the internet? I love it, man. Y'all just, man, keep that sweet, keep that sweet engagement coming in. I can't wait to see how much money I made today when we get done. Kim says, the ones doing the talking are most likely using racism. Do they actually know what right and what wrong these days? No, they don't. This person says, you know, not all blacks do dumb shit. Right. That's why I call it the culture. And that's why I don't say black culture. And that's why I don't say black people. I'm very well aware that all black people aren't involved in this crap. The problem is that, and I've seen this, and it's very unfortunate. There are a lot of black folks out here, like in Rankin County, for example. They ain't never lived in the ghetto. Always been on the up and up. Don't have criminal records. Just normal people, normal damn people. But for whatever reason, it feels like there's like this ghetto inferiority complex, and they get offended by us trying to hold Jacksonians accountable and trash accountable. It's like, one thing you'll never see me do is once a white criminal, if it's blaringly obvious that they're guilty, or once they've been found guilty, you think we take it easy on them? Hell no. Lock them up, throw away the key. You can't lock them up long enough. We're not our brother's keeper when it comes to that. Like, I don't care. Like, people tell me all the time, oh, what about the white people that do this? What about the white people that do that? What about the PDF files? We're not making excuses for them. Do whatever the worst possible punishment is that you can do to them. Then do it again. We don't make excuses for them. They're terrible people. I wish they didn't have the same complexion as me, but I really don't care what their complexion is. If they're violating children, it needs to be a wrap. Period. Whatever the worst thing you can do to them is. Throw them to the wolves. Drop them in a fish tank full of piranhas. I don't care. Those ain't my people. I don't care what color they are. You know? And unfortunately, like, I just feel like you see it with a lot of black folks is like the people who ain't having nothing to do with the shit somehow get offended when you talk about the people that do have something to do with it, with the trash. It's like they just feel like, I can't, I think they're a thug, but I can't have you saying it. Why? Why am I as a white guy not allowed to call somebody black that's a piece of trash or a thug, a piece of trash or a thug, without you getting offended and you never had nothing to do with it? Make that make sense for me. Circle that square. Like, I don't get offended. This is the other thing. Like, I don't get offended when y'all talk shit about white people. If they're trash and thugs or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, hell yeah, I agree. Everything you said, agreed. I don't care. But if they're innocent and they hadn't done anything and you're just lumping them in because the black guy died while he was with them, whether it be alcohol poisoning, drug overdose, God forbid, drowning, whatever. How about we find out what happened first? How about find the body first, which it has been found, but not before all that was running around on the internet. And now it's just been amplified. The fact y'all defend this woman up in Senatobia that tried to run over the cops. And then the other one holding her baby up. And the fact y'all have somehow decided that's the cops' fault. Y'all are going to see the video when it comes out, and you're going to know why you're wrong. You'll never admit that you're wrong, but you're going to know why you're wrong. I'm just trying to clean these comments off the screen here. Raccoon Man says, we are tired of their excuses for their miserable choices in life. Amen. Amen. Those are only their fault. Like, you can only continue to make excuses for your own screw-ups for so long. You can only blame them on other people for so long. Everybody's tired of it. Like, this has ran its course. People are fed up with it. We've all seen it too many times. And it's the same ending every time. It's everybody bad, never our fault, but the evidence says otherwise. Every time. I'm just tired of it. Like, people disagreeing with y'all does not make anybody a racist. Now, that's the other thing. People are tired of being called racist. We don't care anymore. But we're tired of it because now it's like every time we disagree about anything, somehow we're racist or something about the supremacy. Nobody cares anymore. Y'all killed the punch of that. Like, nobody cares. I mean, I'm sure there's some generation of people, some people out there that do. My folks, we don't care. You don't get to tell us what's in our hearts. You don't get to tell us how we feel about people. Actions speak louder than words. No, Jesse, you're an idiot. Yes, I said y'all. Yeah, y'all. There's a difference. I can say y'all and not mean an entire race of people. As a matter of fact, I can. I'm saying y'all as in the people who are constantly saying the bullshit. I don't know. Why is that so hard to understand? You're anger addicts. You can't help it. You're ate up with the anger, and you can't understand that there's finally a group of people, and a lot of us, that don't give a shit. We're pushing back on it. We're not going to just sit here and play this game with y'all anymore. We're going to push back. When you claim racism, you're going to have to prove it. Not just saying it. For far too long, we've just allowed, our folks just allowed y'all to say it and not argue back and not push back and say, oh, well, explain. We're demanding an explanation now. Prove it. That's all you got to do. Prove it. Can't prove it, then shut the F up. You don't get to wish it away. Little Nikki says, the people crying about the children don't know that we have arrested over 100 people in the last week and returned kids. Yeah. I guess I'm in the dark on these little girls y'all keep speaking of, these kids y'all keep speaking of. Don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about. This one here says, we don't give a shit either. That makes two of us. Stop calling, acting like a victim. We ain't a victim. I've been very successful. One thing I'm not is a victim. This is the one I was talking about here. This, we don't care. Speak about those little girls. Again, I have no clue what you're talking about. What little girls? Here's somebody with way too many vowels in their first name. It says STFU racist. See, this is why, and I'm going to make sure I say y'all with this one, since that bothers y'all. This is why I'm going to say, we don't respect y'all when your women speak like this. And all this is the culture trying to get you to lose your temper and say something that they can take back, screen record, screenshot, whatever. Oh, look, he said the word. He said the word, y'all. He said it. Man, there ain't nothing y'all can say that can get me off my center. I know you game. See it far too much. Like, I love seeing y'all get upset like this, trying to get me off my center, out of my frame. You ain't doing it. Ain't doing it, man. I've been playing this game way too long. Again, I'm older than most of y'all, and I lived right in the thick of it up until about the past 5 years. I know how this works. Cameria, you nasty. Your mama know you talk like that? Your daddy know you talk like that? Just nasty. Be disgusted. You ever been on a date, like a real date? And do you talk like that to guys? It's gross. Gross. Last name Carter. You related to those killers that killed that baby in Jackson last week? Y'all gonna speak on that triple homicide in Jackson? The two sisters and the baby got killed. Have y'all spoke on that? Y'all over here demanding that we speak on something? I'll speak on whatever I want to speak on. Y'all don't pull my strings. We'll talk about whatever we want to talk about over here. You don't like it? Go start you a page and talk about whatever it is you think I'm supposed to talk about. That's why I started all this, because I didn't think the media was talking about the things that I wanted them to talk about. Like, man, there's a lot of culture rot going on, and y'all keep blaming all these problems on the wrong people. Y'all ain't talking about the root cause of these problems. Kamala Harris used to talk about the root cause. Y'all ain't talking about the root cause, the culture rot, the fatherless homes. That's the root cause. Why ain't y'all talking about that? I do enjoy the negativity. I enjoy talking about it. I'm not going to stop addressing it. Says, you ain't letting us do shit. We do what we want. This 1960, 1970. What does that even mean, this 1960, 1970? I'm letting y'all do this right now. You're only doing this because I'm letting you right now. I got an end stream button right here. I can take your picture. I can take you off the screen. I'm entertaining this. I'm letting y'all expose yourselves to a very big audience. Like these screenshots, this lasts forever. Right over here on the side of the screen, or on the bottom, however you're looking at this, whether you're in portrait or landscape, you can't go back and delete these posts after you say them. They might come off the Facebook, they might come off the YouTube, but they stay recorded on this screen forever. So I'm letting y'all expose yourselves for the trash you are when you make comments like that. Now, again, I know most of you got fake accounts, don't use your last names. You know, kudos to you for choosing anonymity. I know most of you have to go Google that. Anonymity. I'm not going to tell you what it means. But for the ones that don't, you're an idiot. That's the realest comment that I've seen in a minute. They don't know how to speak without being nasty or trashy. It's just gross. I mean, I can show y'all my inbox, the stuff they send, the stuff the culture sends me in my inbox is so nasty. I posted some of them the other day and I got a community guideline violation for exposing the culture for the death threats and some of the nasty crap they send me. Be proud. And again, a lot of us were never intended to ever, this is one of the downsides to social media. A lot of different groups of people were never intended to be in the same room together, never intended to be on the same continent together, in the same neighborhood, in the same cities. But what social media has done is it's proven diversity ain't our strength. It is our downfall because we don't agree on shit. It's taking a bunch of people who don't agree on anything, much less very polarizing social topics. And that's like the comment section here is my example of the room together that we should have never been in to begin with, talking about things that we don't agree on. And it turns into the shit show that it is. People just slinging words at each other that they would never say in person. And you're just exposing yourselves for your low vocabularies. And you can't you can't defend your point or your argument. You just devolve to very nasty, trashy, foul language and demands. Speak on this, speak on that. No. You speak on it. You go make it your hill to die on. Culture rot's mine. As much as I think anybody who does anything wrong to a child should be punished beyond the fullest extent of the law, that doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. It just doesn't. I mean, again, punish them to the fullest extent of the law. Hell, make punishing them, make the ability to punish them a prize for winning the lottery. And if anybody wins that prize, they get to go be the one to administer the punishment. And I would love for it to be me. But again, that doesn't affect my day-to-day life. It's not PDF files that I'm worried turning my brains into splatter when I'm at the gas station, when I'm at a concert, when I'm at a bar, when I'm at a food court in a mall, when I'm driving down the road. Well, as evil and demonic and terrible as they are, their crimes are rather isolated. It's the culture that I'm worried about turning my brains into splatter. Not because they saw me and want to end me. The DMs definitely, and the things y'all say, I know y'all do. But I'm just using me as the example. Anybody gets randomly got because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time, because the culture and your interpersonal violence spilled into public places. That affects our day-to-day lives way more than these isolated incidents from these PDF files and people like them. And that's just the hard, cold truth of the matter. So that's why we worry about y'all. That's why we talk about the culture. That's why we focus on that more than we do maybe publicly with the other stuff that y'all mentioned. Again, two things can be wrong at the same time, or two things can be right depending upon your perspective. I think they should all go to hell. And I can also point out, hey, Houston, we got a problem over here. These once isolated incidents in the culture that were, say, drive-by shootings at their house have now turned into gunfights at the OK Corral at the gas station or the dollar store or the mall, the concert. I mean, how many black folks got shot down in the Natchez area this weekend? It was like 11 or 12. 3 got killed. And then another 2 got killed at a gas station or something the next day. I mean, 2 mass shootings in the black community down in like Southwest Mississippi over the weekend alone. Go back to a couple months ago. All those graduation parties, or that graduation weekend in Mississippi, where there was like 4 or 5 different mass shootings. Every single one of them black on black. So y'all can keep playing that game that those mass shootings or some are isolated to just white kids at schools. It's not the case. Just simply not the case. Hell, there hadn't been one in, I mean, not to minimize it, there hadn't been one in Mississippi. Y'all are talking about a very rare occurrence too, and I'm not minimizing them, but in the grand scheme of things, those things are extremely rare. And there hadn't been one in Mississippi since Luke Woodham in the mid-90s. So, it feels like we got that problem pretty much under wraps here. But, what there is a lot of violence in the urban schools that are more one-on-one, two-on-one, one-on-two type violence shootings. But y'all don't want to talk about that. Because that's just gang violence. So you're not allowed to talk about gang violence. It's racist to talk about gang violence. Is it? Because that's what y'all say, so people will quit talking about it. You better quit talking about it or we'll call you racist. I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about it. Because like I said, now it is spilled over into the good neighborhoods, into regular areas. It's no longer just in the worst part of town. It's no longer just at the Jasco, the L&M Food Mart. And I'm just making names up. If I hit a real gas station by name, it ain't intentional. Jasco's intentional. But any of the other ones, not intentional. Hell, what was it, 2 years ago? I saw on my Facebook memories 2 years ago, Pearl at the Outlet Mall had a free carnival, and the culture came over and ruined that. The Crawfish Bowl in Jackson at the fairgrounds. The state did something really cool for everybody. Put on a free carnival, a free fair out there, free rides. All you gotta do is show up and have fun. Did crawfish and all that stuff. Mass shooting, black kid. Got his brains splattered, scattered, smothered and chunked like a Waffle House waffle when he decided to do a mass shooting. It's just to ruin everything. Every time somebody tries to set up something for everybody for free, the fatherless come and ruin it. And then we point out, hey, there's a trend here. You call us racist. But then y'all are so quick to jump back to or to bring up any trend that has to do with people that look like me. And we're supposed to say, oh, yeah. We're supposed to agree with that. Or we're supposed to ignore these other trends. It's just, people are fed up with it. You can't defend it anymore. Cannot defend it anymore. All right. I'm going to go over here and count all the money I made today, pissing y'all off. Get ready for my show in the morning. Y'all tune back in, 7 a.m. Not that y'all will be up that early. But if you're awake, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., right back here, same bat time, same bat channel every Monday through Friday. Go be angry. Ree! I love it. I love it when you get with these long texts here. I'm just going to pull it up for 2 seconds and then take it off and let you know you typed all that and ain't nobody reading that shit.